if you can bring more intention, more awareness around the words that you're saying, you're going to create way more abundance, experience, and value for yourself in life. And here's the thing. When you first start to do this, it's not going to come natural. It's something that you have to work at. Like anything, this is a muscle you have to build. And I've built this muscle by being intentional and practicing. So again, you wake up and you have a bad day and you think, fuck, today's going to suck. And then you say, no, today's going to be a great day and I'm going to give everything I have to it, right? In real time, you autocorrect yourself. Just like when you're typing on a computer and it autocorrects the word, when you're talking out loud or thinking in your head, you have to autocorrect the thoughts that you have.
I won't waste another minute, no, I won't. I'm a man on a mission. I'm a man on a mission. I don't need no permission. I'm a man on a mission.
Welcome to Entitled to Nothing, where we believe our life is our fault. My name is Mink, and I started this podcast because I want to share everything I've learned on my journey to help inspire you on yours. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the words that we use. One of the things I've come to believe is that the language and the words that we use shapes our reality. And it's something that's so simple, but also so profound. I think the way that we speak is a frame, or it creates our perception. And that perception starts to skew the way that we see things and the way that we believe and what we think. And ultimately, the words and the thoughts that we have are going to end up creating the reality that we experience. And so what I want to do is read a short passage from the book, The 4 Agreements. It's all about the words that we use and how powerful they are. And then I want to share with you some reframes on language, because oftentimes we fall into the trap of using words that they assume or presuppose that we're a victim. Like, I'll give you one example. Do you get to do it? Or do you have to do it? Because if you have to do it, then you're a victim of that situation. If you get to do it, well, now that reframe is giving you the power to say, no, I get to do this. And it might be something that you get to do that you don't want to do, that you don't like to do, but simply by telling yourself, I get to do this, it's going to change your perspective on what it means, how it feels, and ultimately it's going to start conditioning you to be the creator of circumstance, to take the power back instead of giving it away. You see, I think one of the biggest problems that we have, and I experienced this firsthand for a long time, is we fall into the trap of being the victim in certain situations. And to some degree, we will be, regardless of how we approach this. But if we bring awareness to it, if we bring intention to it, and specifically intention to the words that we use, I believe we can start to change the way that we perceive things. And ultimately, that's going to give us more control, more power, and that creates more opportunity for us to create life on our terms. I can tell you guys this, when I started being very, very intentional about the words that I used and how I languaged things, that started to change the way that I felt. And ultimately, we don't experience the life that we have, we experience the life that we feel and what we focus on. And so with that said, I'm going to read to you guys from the 4 Agreements, because I absolutely love what the author, Don Miguel, says here about the power of words. And it's super, super relevant to what we're going through here today. So he says, the word is the power that you have to create. Through the word, you express your creative power. It's what manifests everything. Regardless of what language you speak, your intent through the word creates your dreams or destroys it. The word is the most powerful tool a human has. It's a tool of magic. But like a sword with 2 edges, your word can create the most beautiful dream, or your word can destroy everything around you. If you misuse the word, it creates a living hell. So this idea that our thoughts become things, our words become reality, right? I wholeheartedly believe this. And I believe that if together we start to bring as much intention to the way that we speak about things, we're going to feel better and we're going to create more. So Today, I'm going to give you guys 12 different language patterns, and these are just things to think about. When stuff comes out of your mouth, the best thing that we can do is try to bring awareness to it and reflect on it. So I'll give you guys a simple example. Number one, never say you can't do something. Say you haven't done it yet, or maybe say you choose not to do it, but never ever say you can't do something. And here's the deal. Like, yeah, we can't fucking fly. All right. We know that, right? But you could get on a plane and then you can't fly, right? So there's exceptions to every rule to some degree, but it's all about how we frame things. And I would say the way that you frame something. So what does framing mean? It's basically like if you think about a picture frame, right? Like you are setting the frame of what you can see in that picture. So if you've got a picture frame that's too small, you can't see the picture, or the wrong size, the picture doesn't fit. Every day we're framing everything in our life. And the way that we frame something is ultimately the perspective that we're taking on that situation. You know, a simple example I've used and we've all felt is this. You wake up in the morning, you're tired, you don't feel like doing it, your body hurts, it's early, and there's nothing inside of you that wants to get up. And you think to yourself, today's gonna fucking suck, right? I've done that more times than I like to admit. But then after realizing that those words, or maybe those thoughts come out, we have the opportunity to correct them and say, no, you know what? Today's gonna be a tough day, but it's the tough days that make me stronger, right? I'm gonna give today everything I have, and that's going to be enough. And oftentimes, just the way that we frame our days, our moments, our relationships, those start to predict and create the way that we're going to experience them. I'll give you another simple example. Let's say you got a really shitty meeting that you have to have, right? Not that long ago, I had to go through the experience of letting a few people at my company go. And that's one of the worst things to do as a leader. And rather than saying, fuck, today's going to suck, I have to let these people go, I thought to myself, today's going to be tough, but it's going to make me stronger as a leader. I'm going to have the opportunity to learn in this moment. I'm going to have the opportunity to grow through this moment. So the way that we frame things ultimately is going to start to build the experience that we have in the moment. And this leads me to another framing way, or another way to think about things, right? You could say, I'm going to go through it, or I'm going to grow through it, right? If we're going through it, it is ultimately just something that we have to, figure out, we have to go through. But if we grow through it, well, now we're looking for opportunities to learn lessons along the way. We're looking for ways that because of this experience, I'm going to be a better version of myself. You can go through it or you can grow through it, right? Very simple language pattern shift. But if you start growing through things, now moment to moment to moment, or difficult conversation to difficult conversation, you're now getting stronger because you're growing instead of just going through it. We already talked about this one, but one language pattern you have to use is instead of saying I have to do it, you get to do it, right? And what you'll notice here is a lot of these language patterns that we have, today's gonna be a bad day, I have to go through this, I have to do this. These are all language patterns that are taking your power away. You are powerless if you have to do something, but you're in power if you get to do something. And so much of life is setting a frame that gives you control so that you're in the best position you can to create change or to create momentum or movement, right? So if we want to create life on our terms, it truly starts with the words that come out of our mouth, right? Another one, number 4, is you can say, I failed or I learned, right? For every failure, there's a lesson. And I was thinking about this one as I was driving in, and oftentimes the reason why you would fail is because you do less than what you were wanting to do. And less is the foundation of lesson, right? So again, just some of these reframes, right? We hear the word impossible, but it's also I'm possible. And I know these things are like little cliche things, but these are the small hinges that swing big doors of opportunity and possibility. If we can agree that the greatest power we have is the word, right? The word to create or destroy, then the way that we use that word, the sword of our word, it has two edges, like the Four Agreement says. And it's up to us to use that sword to create. And if we don't use it intentionally to create, we're going to unintentionally use it to destroy, most likely. And I think that the most powerful thing we can do as leaders and as men who want to take control of our circumstance is to first take control of our language. Number 5, this is an interesting one. If you've ever found yourself saying, I can't afford this, right? That's a very disempowering feeling. We've all been there. We've all felt at times like we can't afford it or we can't do what we want to do. So how do you reframe this? How do you make it from a disempowering language pattern to an empowering one? Well, maybe you say, I don't have this in my budget right now, or I'm prioritizing other things at the moment. This isn't a priority in my life, right? I can't afford this as a negative experience. It makes you feel less than. It might be true, but you could just as easily say, I'm not budgeting for this right now, which is also true, right? And you know, one of the things that's interesting, right? We live in this world where people play word games, and this is never more prevalent than in politics. And quite honestly, it drives me insane because they're manipulating language against us and they're redefining things and creating semantics. But it's such a beautiful lesson if you can observe it, right? Because people are manipulating or using language to change perception. And you can do the same thing in your own life for yourself, to give yourself the power that you need to move through the moment. And so often in my life, I felt broke and like I couldn't afford what I wanted to do. And by feeling that, by expressing that, it made me feel less than. It took my power away. And then it's very easy to get in this negative spiral. So by just saying, you know what, I can't afford this right now. I'm not prioritizing this right now. You start to at least say, I'm in charge of this and I'm not focusing on this right now. True or not, honestly, it doesn't fucking matter. The stories that you tell yourself, they don't have to be true. They just have to support you and move you in the right direction. All right, another example of this is saying, I should do this versus I will do this, right? So often we get caught in the trap of I should, and then we end up just shoulding all over ourselves, right? But if something is really a priority, you will not say I should do it. You say I will do it. And if it's not a priority, then just let it go. But don't should all over yourself. Say I must do this or I will do this. Because shoulds ultimately never fucking happen, as you and I know. We got so many competing things in our lives, we don't have time for it. Another language pattern is I don't have time, which a lot of us, right? We are busy. We don't have time to do some of the things that we want. But when we say we don't have time, it makes us feel like we are, well, I think, again, it makes us feel like we're not able to do the things that we want to do. And that, again, is simply a feeling of being a victim or not having enough, right? So if we say, I'm not making this a priority right now, again, you're changing the focus from being a victim of this moment, of having lack or scarcity, to this isn't a priority right now. I'm not focusing on this, okay? Giving you the opportunity to take control of the situation. Again, right or wrong, now you can move forward. Another one is saying, I'm not good at this, to I'm getting better at this. Because none of us are good at anything until we practice and learn how to get better, okay? So by saying, oh, I'm not good at this, I suck at this, I can't do that, you're automatically putting yourself in a position where you never will be able to. But if you say, I'm getting better at this, no one can argue that. And if you actually are putting in some effort to try to do it, you're gonna get better. So stop saying I'm not good at this or I can't do this, or the one that I hate the most, well, I'm just not that kind of person. Well, if you want to create the result that you want, become that type of person. Like, build the motherfucker you want to be so you can go do the shit that you want to do, right? But if you get caught in this negative language pattern of I'm not good enough or I can't do it, then ultimately you never will, right? Your words create your reality. So flip that shit. You're in control of it. This is why I say your life is your fault, because you're in control of the words that come out of your mouth. And the words lead to feeling, and feeling leads to action, okay? So you're getting better at this. Another one that you hear is like, man, this is hard. I don't know if I can do this. And that's good because growth and strength doesn't come from easy. So rather than saying it's too hard, say, I'm getting stronger. I'm going to grow through this, right? I'm going to embrace this again. And look for a way that you can reframe things, change the words that you are using so that they are now empowering you instead of disempowering you, right? Another one is, I have a problem. I think you can change that to, I have a really interesting opportunity, right? Or, you know what? I have these obstacles that I'm going to overcome, right? You don't have a problem. You have an obstacle to overcome. You have a worthy opponent that has been presented to you that you get to grow through and overcome, making you stronger, okay? Just simply by putting some of these together, you are now playing mental jujitsu, and rather than being a bitch and a whiner and a victim, you become the victor and someone that has the opportunity to use whatever comes your way for growth. But it starts with the words that you use. Another one is, I have to wait to do this. I can't do this right now. To, you could change that to, well, I'm practicing patience. I'm being disciplined. I'm working on a plan, right? I can't do it right now. I don't have the time. I'm building a plan. I'm practicing patience. I'm following a strategy that I put out for myself, right? There's all these ways that we can change the way that we define something and make it mean something better for us. And then the final one is simply, you never have a bad day. You just have a growth day, right? We're all going to have tough days. Shit's going to go wrong. Things are going to break. This just happened to me a couple days ago. I was on a flight. I had multiple scheduled flights. I wasn't able to get where I was going. I had to cancel a trip. It was a whole lot of fuckery. And at the end of the day, it wasn't a bad day. It was a growth day. And if we can see things as opportunities for us to learn and grow, if we can reframe our language, then ultimately we are always going to be in control of our circumstances. On this topic, one of my favorite quotes is from Rudyard Kipling. I don't even know how to say his name. Rudyard Kipling, okay? And he says, words are the most common used drug of humans. We hypnotize ourselves with words. We lie to ourselves with words. We hold ourselves back. We discourage ourselves with words. And ultimately, I wanted to share some of these language patterns with you and talk about the power of the word, because each of us have it. And I believe it's the most powerful thing that we have. And with it, we can create and build a life of our dreams, or we can create and destroy a life that could be really beautiful. Again, you don't have the life you want. You have the life you focus on. You don't live the life that you want. You live the life that you talk about. And so all of this to be said, if you can bring more intention, more awareness around the words that you're saying, you're going to create way more abundance, experience, and value for yourself in life. You know, and here's the thing. When you first start to do this, it's not going to come natural. It's something that you have to work at. Like anything, this is a muscle you have to build. And I've built this muscle by being intentional and practicing. So again, you wake up and you have a bad day and you think, fuck, today's going to suck. And then you say, no, today's going to be a great day and I'm going to give everything I have to it, right? In real time, you autocorrect yourself. Just like when you're typing on a computer and it autocorrects the word, when you're talking out loud or thinking in your head, you have to autocorrect the thoughts that you have. And if you can learn to autocorrect your language and your thoughts and reframe them to something that serves you and empowers you, then you're going to be able to have a lot more success and you're going to experience a much higher quality of life. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. Let me know if you found this episode helpful. Okay, it's a little bit of a it's a different type of episode, right? We're talking about the words that we use and we're trying to autocorrect them in real time. It's an interesting concept to think about. But I really believe that this idea of being intentional about the words that we use and then creating this muscle of auto-correcting the language that I use and the thoughts that I have, that has played a massive role in me building the companies and doing the things that I've done. And I want you guys to have the opportunity to do the same thing. So if you got value from this episode, drop us a comment below. Let us know. Share it with someone that needs to hear it. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys soon.